overall assessment of truthiness on both sides?
Well, Chris, we have a president who is running for re-election on a strategy of serial, deliberate dishonesty, and it's getting worse. This debate, the version of Trump we got in this debate, was worse from a fact-check perspective, from an honesty perspective, than the Trump we got in that first debate, even though he was more belligerent in the first debate. His rallies are also getting more dishonest, and it's just a bombardment. I mean, literally his first sentence tonight was inaccurate. I don't know if I've ever seen that before in a debate. It takes work. And as you said, I think the most important piece of dishonesty we're getting from either candidate is Trump's repeated insistence that the pandemic is going away or rounding some sort of turn or corner. This is getting worse and worse, and the president keeps saying it's getting better and it's about to vanish. This is just the magnitude, the importance of this piece of dishonesty is just staggering to me. Now, I will add that Biden was far from perfect. He had some false claims, he had some misleading claims, and some claims lacking in context. So he shouldn't be absolved for any of that. But again, it's just, apples and oranges, no comparison in the frequency and generally in the magnitude of the false claims from these two candidates.
Let's play a little sound as an example. I think one of the big issues in terms of testing this president on what he's done and hasn't done, we'll start with immigration and the president's position on the 500 plus children who were separated from their families. Those family members were sent back, and now they're having trouble finding them. Here.
Catch and release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay. Where does that stand in terms of catch and release?
So that claim is wrong. Trump has been claiming for years now that basically nobody shows up for their immigration court hearings after they're released pending a hearing. In fact, as of the latest data we have for 2018, it was 25% of cases were decided in absentia, which means the person was not present to hear the decision, which means that 75% were in court to hear the decision. Now, you can argue that 25% absent is too much, but that's not what the president says. He says it's 99% absent, and Chris, that's not even close to true.
Well, Daniel, another important debate topic was health care. The president made this claim about former Vice President Biden's plan.
One thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care, far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies.
Daniel, what do you make of that?
Biden basically did this fact check for me, Anderson, during the debate. It's just false. As Biden said, Senator Bernie Sanders and others on the left proposed Medicare for all, single-payer government health care programs. Biden is not one of those people. He has vocally rejected that approach. What he has proposed is known as a public option, in which people could voluntarily enroll in a Medicare-like government program if they wanted to. They would not be forced off their private plans. Biden would not terminate private insurance. Now, there are legitimate questions about how a public option, if it was robust and popular, would affect the availability of private insurance over time, as former Senator Santorum said on our air earlier. But the suggestion that Biden is just going to wipe away private plans, terminate them, is simply false, Anderson.
President Trump once again went after Joe Biden on the issue of fracking to extract oil and gas. Let's listen.
It's all a pipe dream. But you know what we'll do? We're going to have the greatest economy in the world. But if you want to kill the economy, get rid of your oil industry. You want, and what about fracking?
All right, let me allow Vice President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact of the matter is he's flat lying.
Daniel, he then later on added that he had called for an end to fracking on federal land.
Yeah, so in this case, Trump is correct. Biden did make anti-fracking comments during the Democratic primary in 2019 and 2020, and Trump was not lying. Listen, for example, to something he said in 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just to clarify, would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those, any fossil fuel.
So Biden did not say the words, "I oppose fracking" there, but he clearly was at least very strongly suggesting that he was an opponent. Now, the thing about this, the nuance here, is that that was never Biden's actual policy position. So we had this weird semi-comical cycle during the primary where Biden would make these broad anti-fracking comments, and then his campaign spokespeople would have to say, no, that's not his actual plan. His actual plan, as it is today, is a ban on new leases for oil and gas on public land only. So Biden is not actually proposing a complete fracking ban, but it just falls for Biden to say that he never said he opposed fracking, Anderson.
Daniel, Trump also tried to hit Biden with Russia. He claimed Biden received $3.5 million from Russia and that it's meddling to defeat him. Then Biden hit back. Listen to this.
Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever.
So what's the truth about Biden and Russia?
So, Don, this is an example of what I think of as Trumpflation. It's how he takes a previous claim, often false, and inflates it, beyond the original recognition. So the initial allegation, which is denied by Hunter Biden, this is an allegation made by Senate Republicans, is that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, received $3.5 million in a business deal, a consulting deal with the wife of the late mayor of Moscow. Now, again, Hunter Biden says he didn't get this money. He's not affiliated with the firm that did get the money. But regardless, that's not what Trump said. Trump said that Joe Biden got the money and it came through Putin. There is no allegation from Senate Republicans, and there was no allegation from anyone, as far as I know, until tonight, that Joe Biden received these payments, this payment. So this is, again, the president taking a kernel of something and turning it into something much bigger and more dramatic. That's just not true.
Daniel, the president's handling of the pandemic certainly was a major topic, certainly during the first part of this debate. The president claimed that at one point that 2.2 million Americans were initially expected to die from the coronavirus. Listen to this.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China.
All right, Daniel, so that 2.2 million figure, accurate?
So, Wolf, it's a real figure, but Trump falsely describes it, and he's continued to do this at his rallies. Now, what this figure said, it was a report from British academics, and it said that in the U.S., if no U.S. government did anything to mitigate the virus, to fight the virus, and no citizen took social distancing action, then we could see 2 million plus deaths. But this was not an expectation. It was not a realistic estimate. This was a figure put out there to say, this is how bad it gets if you just let this virus run its course, which, of course, the government was not about to do, Wolf.
Let's listen to a claim made by the president, Daniel, about the state of the coronavirus pandemic right now. Listen to this.
It will go away, and as I say, we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
All right, president keeps insisting the virus is going away. It clearly is not going away. The numbers are awful.
It's not going away. Wolf, I did an analysis. I found the president had said between February and October 10th, Trump had said 38 times that it was going away. It was wrong 8 months ago, and it's wrong today. Look, as you said, the numbers are terrible. We're now back above 60,000 confirmed new cases per day. The president doesn't like to use this metric of cases. He dismisses it. Well, hospitalizations are also rising. They're setting records in many states. And sadly, deaths are now rising again, as they usually do, with a lag after cases start rising. So we're not rounding any turn. It's not going away. Things are getting worse in the United States.
The president once again claimed he was simply joking when he talked about injecting bleach to fight COVID-19. Listen to this.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry. The warm weather. Don't worry. Maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president has said. Even today, he thinks we are in control. We're about to lose 200,000 more people.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that.
So, Daniel, we've heard this from the president before, that he was simply kidding. At one point, he said, then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside, or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me. It didn't sound like he was kidding to me.
Wolf, that's dead serious. I mean, it's weird for a fact checker to fact check whether someone was joking or not, but in context, if you watch that video from April, it was entirely clear. He looked at the side of the room in the direction of his medical and scientific experts and said the quote you just said about the possibility of studying whether disinfectants, injecting them, could treat the coronavirus. Now, Biden sometimes exaggerates on this, suggests that Trump actually actively recommended that people inject bleach. He didn't. He was talking about studying it, but there's no question, Wolf, that he was serious and not sarcastic and kidding like he keeps claiming.
Yeah, I remember in the room, in the White House briefing room, you could see Dr. Birx. She was really uncomfortable when she heard the president say that.
Yeah.
That was a pretty awful moment.
Stunned reaction today to the president's jaw-dropping suggestions on how to combat COVID-19.
I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside?
It may sound crazy, but obviously people take the president's word seriously.
It was just the most bizarre thing I've ever heard.
The look on Dr. Deborah Birx's face says it all. She's one of the world's foremost experts on infectious diseases.
A lot of people felt for Dr. Birx as she looked like she was trying to hold her face on straight.
Lysol quickly issuing a statement. We must be clear that under no circumstance should our disinfectant products be administered into the human body through injection, ingestion, or any other route.
These are dangerous chemicals to inject intravenously. It travels through the circulatory system in the blood to the major organs, causes kidney, liver, brain damage.
The president also talked once again about Dr. Anthony Fauci and his early, very early assessment of the coronavirus. This is what he said.
Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words, this is no problem, this is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Did the president quote Dr. Fauci accurately?
He did not, Wolf. Wolf, the president has a long history, he's been doing this for months, of misquoting Dr. Fauci. In fact, to be more precise, he keeps inventing non-existent quotes from Fauci. So here's what Fauci said in a February interview that people on the right have seized on as evidence for this kind of thing. He said on the NBC Today show, at this moment, there's no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So people, take that sentence and say, okay, he's playing it down. But that's not so, because listen to what Fauci said next. He said, right now the risk is still low, but this could change. I've said that many times, even on this program. And he went on to say, when you start to see community spread, this could change and force you to become much more attentive to doing things that would protect you from spread. spread. And he later said in that same interview, this could be a major outbreak. I hope not, or it could be something that's reasonably well controlled. At the end of the day, this will ultimately go down. So yes, he did say it will ultimately go down, but he certainly, Wolf, did not say soon. And again, he expressed considerable uncertainty as he continued to warn people of a looming risk.
President Trump talked about his push to get members of NATO to pay more to support the alliance. Let's listen to that.
Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump.
Daniel, did any of that ring true?
There's a lot wrong there, Jake. I'm going to start with the end, the selling pillows and sheets. That was a vague reference to Trump's usual claim that the Obama administration merely sent Ukraine pillows and sheets in military aid. Now, that's not true. It is true that Obama declined to authorize lethal military aid, weapons to Ukraine, but it sent things like drones, armored Humvees, counter-mortar radars, night vision supplies, medical devices. So no, it was not just pillows and sheets. Now, on these figures for NATO, yes, NATO and its leaders do give Trump credit for pressuring members into an increase in spending, but it is not as much as Trump claims. So that $130 billion is not $130 billion a year. It's $130 billion total between 2016 and the end of 2020. Now, that $400 billion figure, he said $420 billion, was an estimated total increase as of 2024. So between 2016 and 2024, not per year. And NATO told me in an August email that that estimate is now in doubt because of COVID-related budget challenges. So it's very much uncertain, Jake.
So that's an example of Trump actually having good facts on his side to share, but instead he just makes stuff up.
Yeah, it's like the truth is never good enough.
I know, just tell the truth on this one. Those are actually good things to say. Let's listen to an exchange on immigration from earlier tonight. Former Vice President Biden talking about the Trump administration's border policy, detaining and separating families.
These 500 plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Let me ask you a follow-up
Kristen,
question.
they did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to that?
They did it. We changed.
Did not
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
I mean, this is a policy that the Trump administration trotted out. Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General at the time, introduced the official family separation policy. But there you have President Trump trying to blame the Obama administration.
Yeah, so Trump has claimed for a long time, I've been fact-checking this for years, that he inherited the separation policy from Obama. Now, he did it tonight a bit more vaguely than in previous occasions, but he said they did it, we changed it. And that's at least highly misleading. Now, separations did occur, Jake, under Obama, but occasionally. Trump made them, as you said, routine, deliberately. So under Obama, as CNN's Priscilla Alvarez has explained, separation occurred in exceptional cases. For example, where the parent was being criminally prosecuted for carrying drugs across the border, or other serious crimes aside from illegal crossing, or cases where human trafficking was suspected, or cases where the authorities couldn't confirm the connection between the child and the adult. So the separations happened, but not as a result of a blanket policy. As you said, Trump imposed a policy of routinely criminally prosecuting all suspected illegal border crossers for the crime of illegal entry, which forced separation from the children. So it was not just in cases of serious suspected crime, suspected trafficking. It's just no comparison. Now, I have to say, as for the cages, there is some truth to what Trump said. A border processing center with chain link fencing, you can call them cages, was set up during the Obama administration in 2014 in the wake of an unaccompanied minor crisis. They were getting huge numbers of children crossing the border. They didn't feel they were equipped to handle the situation. So yes, those cages were built, at least some of them, under Obama. But again, that does not mean the two administrations, Jake, have the same policy.
That's right. I mean, if people are going to be outraged by kids in cages, it's fair to criticize the Obama administration because there were kids in cages. But the difference is these were kids who came across the border in these caravans without their parents.
Right.
And I'm not justifying putting them in cages, but that's different than having a policy in which you are saying we're going to separate kids from their parents and still not being able to find the parents of more than 500 of these kids.
Precisely. That's exactly correct. So Trump is seizing on the images of cages under Obama, which is frankly a helpful image to him, and it's fair for him to point that out. But as you said, this is just absolutely apples and oranges in terms of separation policy.